Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we have some Diablo news for you. So I just got done watching the recent campfire live stream that the developers held, and they talked about a lot of things that they're going to be bringing to the game, and I figured I'd do a very quick summary for everyone that didn't have time or doesn't wish to watch the live stream. Naturally, they went into stuff with a lot more detail, but I'll do my best to convey the overall information that was presented in that campfire session that they did. So one of the first things that they talked about was nightmare dungeons. As you may or may not be aware, currently once you get to a certain level, once you progress to World Tier 4 and you're just trying to level up your character, there are several activities that you can take part in when it comes to the stuff that is available to you in-game. And one of the activities that is more challenging and provides you with a lot of rewards are nightmare dungeons, which basically consists of you getting these sigils that then trigger these dungeons that are kind of like highly repeatable, and they come with modifiers, and they're really fun. I've actually been doing quite a few nightmare dungeons. The footage in here is actually not related. This is me doing my capstone dungeon that takes us into World Tier 4, in case you guys are curious. I just wanted to have some background footage playing. But anyway, the nightmare dungeons, as it turns out, despite being very fun and their intent in being an endgame activity, you know, all of that stuff aside, they're not the most efficient way to actually go ahead and level up your character. The reasoning behind this is because you can get more elite mobs density inside normal dungeons. And what that means is, you know, players that really want to min-max their EXP gain per minute, they're going into normal dungeons as opposed to nightmare dungeons. This is clearly not something developers intend. They want players to jump into nightmare dungeons more often, and as such, they want to make nightmare dungeons the default way in which players, go and take part in that particular activity whenever it comes to endgame stuff, whether it is to level your character, whether it is to get loot, whether it is to get, the little socket things, I forget what their name is, that you then put in the Paragon board. They want more players to go do nightmare dungeons. As such, they're going to make those more efficient from an experience standpoint. So, this is going to be something that we'll be seeing in an update before Season 1. For one, I personally like this because I don't want to be repeating dungeons over and over just because it's the most efficient way of doing things. I want to be doing nightmare dungeons, which in a way I understand it is kind of like repeating dungeons, but nightmare dungeons are kind of like mythic dungeons in World of Warcraft, and for those of you that may or may not be aware, this is something that I really enjoy doing in World of Warcraft, so I think it's a good thing. So this is something that you can look forward to a little bit of a buff in terms of efficiency as to what you get in nightmare dungeons, and this was very much an informal conversation, but they were also talking about rewards being improved for nightmare dungeons. I believe that they were specifically talking about EXP, but maybe there will be other things that we'll be getting. We'll see how that pans out. Another really good quality of life thing that they're doing for nightmare dungeons is sigils will now teleport you to the nightmare dungeon. This is something that I was actually confused when it didn't happen the first time around. I'm like, how did you design the game in a way that this doesn't just automatically happen? Because the first time I ever went to a nightmare dungeon was my friend Kegrin. He just he activated the sigil, and a thing pops up in screen and tells you, press this button in order to confirm if you want to begin this nightmare dungeon. I was like, oh, cool, this thing's going to teleport me in. Nope. It's like you're just confirming that you want to begin the activity, and then it's like, okay, the activity has begun. And I'm like, oh, but there wasn't a teleport, there was nothing. I was actually confused. So it's nice to see that these are going to start doing that. And this also is something that is going to allow them to better balance the EXP that nightmare dungeons give, because they can just take away the travel time from the calculation of how much EXP players are getting. And I think that this is overall a good move, because personally, I'm not really doing things just to optimize EXP. So I was probably going to be doing the nightmare dungeons anyway. They're just going to become more efficient, which is a good thing. Like I said, they're working to get this in before Season 1, so it is at some point between now and the end of July is when a patch should show up into the game that is going to kind of like hotfix, not really hotfix is a different term, but it's going to get this update live on the Diablo 4 side of things, and, expect that. Now, another thing they talked about was improving the readability of dangerous AoE and affixes. This isn't particularly relevant due to something that you're actually watching on screen, because there's an ability that you have with the Necromancer, which is Corpse Explosion. You can change it so that it does shadow damage, but the unintended consequences, you just see these huge patches of black that you can see on screen right now. And these patches of black actually make it very hard for you to see whenever there's, something that can actually hurt you inside that patch of black. And this was actually a build that I avoid using for the longest time, despite knowing that this was the most potent version of the build that I could be working towards. But I just thought, this is so obnoxious, because like if you're playing with someone and suddenly you just cover the screen in black and they can't see jack, and even I can't see anything of what is going on inside those big patches of black. So it's nice that they're going to be improving that, they're going to be fixing that, and they say that they're also improving the readability of dangerous AoEs, like, you know, stuff that is on the ground that can hit you and hurt you and really deal a lot of damage, because that type of stuff when you start getting to World Tier 4 gets incredibly deadly. So it's good that they're going to be improving the visuals overall and clarifying, you know, the effects that can really just destroy your character. Another thing that they said they're working on is making sure that the affixes on particular elite mobs and bosses, well, maybe not bosses, more elite mobs, when sometimes they have certain affixes like fire enchanted, cold enchanted, stuff like that, and it can be hard for some players to realize, oh, this monster's cold enchanted, I better like move away right before things go south. So it's nice to know that they're working on making sure that all of that stuff is fixed. Now, this next part is potentially one of the most important parts of the whole discussion, and they actually did a correction to this midway through the campfire discussion. So I'm going to try and do my best to explain to you guys what's happening. But basically, they were discussing what is getting carried over with Renown. Now, I understand that in my channel, I have a lot of people that don't quite understand how seasons work in RPG, and that is perfectly fine, which is one of the reasons why I made it very clear that you're going to be expected to create a new character when seasons begin with Diablo IV, which is something that is still very confusing for a lot of people because maybe they don't play a lot of ARPGs, but this has been the case for quite some time, like all the way back from Diablo II. If you want to participate in seasonal content, you were expected to create a brand new character. Now, when you create a brand new character, what exactly is going to carry over with you from the rewards that you've been doing? Like, for instance, if you've been running around the whole map, you might be like, oh, but I've grinded my Renown. This carries over, right? Yeah. No, it doesn't. They're saying that they're still, like, evaluating what is carrying over and whatnot, but currently what is intended for them to do is, like, your Renown is not going to entirely carry over. If you do all the things that you can do, like you do all of the side quests, you do all of the map exploration, you do all of these things in the Eternal Realm and your current characters, not everything is going to carry over. So what is going to carry over? So there are several things that you do to gain Renown in the game. I've talked about them in my guide videos in case you missed those. But one of those things is revealing the map. So if you just explore the map and you discover every single hidden zone, there's going to be certain zones. There's a little bit of fog because you've never been there for whatever reason. If you discover the entirety of the map, each little zone that you uncover is going to be like 5 points of Renown for that specific region of the map. So all of that carries over. As a matter of fact, they said that when you start a seasonal character, your map progression, so all of the stuff that you've explored on the map is going to show up on your map. Even though I believe that is not the case with alts, I haven't really been playing alts. I've been focusing all of my time into my Necromancer because I have very little time to play. But even though that's not the case currently with alts, whenever you create your seasonal character, your map is going to be completely revealed. Okay? And those points of Renown that you would get for revealing the map, those will automatically get added into the Renown of that character. Now, I've been hearing from some people, including Kagran, who's a friend of mine who plays this game like even more hardcore than I do, but he was telling me like, oh, everything that is an account reward gets passed over with you. That is not the case. At least that is not the case in their current design decision, which I personally think is a mistake. What carries over is just these points that you get from the map and the points that you would get for Altars of Lilith, as well as all of the stat points you'd get for Altars of Lilith. So Altars of Lilith, you do it once in the Eternal Realm and you're done, unless you're playing a hardcore character, because hardcore characters are separate from softcore characters, so you still need to grab the Altars of Lilith there. And also don't ask me what happens if your hardcore character dies after you've collected all of the Altars of Lilith, because I have no idea and I'm not going to be looking that information up. But anyway, getting back to the things that do carry over, like I said, it is the Altars of Lilith as well as the fog map, and that will get you up a little bump into the Renown. According to what one of the developers said, that bump is going to take you like to level 2 on every single region, but the rest of it you're still expected to grind through conventional means. Now, when it comes to the map showing up completely revealed in your seasonal character, the only travel points that you're going to have access to are travel points of capital cities. So only the major capital of each region is the point that you can travel to. All of the other ones are expected to still go around and collect them. Now, this is something that to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because if you're already giving me the renown for, you know, exploring the whole map, why can't I just get the rest as well? And the idea is that Blizzard wants you to replay a lot of that content. So for instance, you want to go and do side quests again, that is going to be something that is going to be reset, which again is something that doesn't make sense to me. Why would I want to go do side quests twice? I don't understand. It's like, look, if I've done the side quest, I've done the side quest. Or at the very least, give us the option. Like, just give players the option. Hey, would you like to redo the side quests? And, you know, there would be an option there, and you just select that. Yeah, sure, let me redo the side quests for that. Or just carry over my progress in side quests. Because, like, side quests is something that I feel like you shouldn't be repeating because it's not particularly interesting, right? Anyway, you'll gain renown for grabbing the additional travel points beyond the capital travel points. You'll gain renown for doing the side quests again. Naturally, you'll gain renown for doing the strongholds again, which some of the strongholds also give you travel points, stuff like that. So, you know, all of these things are expected to be repeated again. So this is just like a note that I took. You will need to complete Renown again, like I said, if you want to get like those additional Paragon points, if you really want to min-max, which to me, that is a mistake. I feel like you should do new things for Renown. So like seasonal characters should get new Renown activities as opposed to recycling that stuff. And I'm still not sure what they're doing for seasons because they didn't really talk too much about that, like what's going to be the special mechanic that we're going to be getting with each season, all of that jazz. They haven't talked about that all that much. But yeah. Like I said, very quick summary, in case you didn't fully understand. The only thing carries over, Altars of Lilith, map reveals, and those give you a bump in your renown. Everything else, they expect you to grind that over again if you really want to min-max your character. Now, in terms of gems, there's been a lot of complaints about gems because they take up a lot of inventory slot, and the developers have said that gems are going to be going to your currency tab. Now, this is an update that I think is going to take a little bit longer to do. They didn't really give us a... It might be before Season 1 as well. I don't know. But I think this one might take a little bit longer. But this is massive because it's going to clear away all of the stuff that you'd get in your inventory. You don't need a gem tab. This just straight up goes into your materials tab, which is the same place where you have like your materials that you collect throughout the world. Iron ore, stuff like that. That's the way that gems are going to be treated. And then you just go into the gem craft and you just select which gems you want to craft. And you'll just generate the gems from the stuff that is in your materials tab, so that is really cool. Now, naturally, there's been a lot of discussion in terms of resistances because Kriparian has made a video talking about resistances and how they're bad. They don't give you a lot of value. So like your fire resistance, your shadow resistance, your poison resistance, they're pretty much worthless in the grand scheme of things. So you're better off stacking just raw armor. And the developers, you know, they went a big long about way. It's like, well, it's not exactly like they're worthless, blah, 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 blah. They're pretty worthless, okay? And this is going to take a while to fix, and they're saying that maybe they'll be able to fix this by Season 2. So things are going to remain pretty much the same when it comes to resistances. So avoid having resistances on your endgame gear and go straight for armor because that is going to be a much bigger benefit at this point in time. Now, they also mentioned that around Season 2, they're going to be doing something which is a hardcore scroll of escape. This is apparently going to be a rare item that if you're playing hardcore, you're going to be able to get this item, and then you're going to be able to use this item. You can bind it on like a keybind or something, and you can use this item whenever things get really bad, and you can just escape. This is like the equivalent of people Alt F4ing out of the game. Now, a cool feature that they're putting into this hardcore scroll of escape is that essentially... if you happen to be disconnected while you're in the middle of a hardcore session, it will, and they determine that you're about to die or something like that, it will use your scroll of escape and port you to safety before you die because there's been a couple of hardcore characters that died from disconnects and stuff like that, and they're trying to avoid that. This is their answer to that. I don't know if this is the best. I don't really play hardcore all that much, so my opinion is not particularly important. Now, there's also something going on right now which is if you happen to go and do a world boss at certain levels, particularly if you go into World Tier 4, for instance, in my case, my character is currently level 69, not on this video, but in the game right now. My character's level 69, and if I was to go and engage in the world boss event, which by the way is like level 90 plus, I will get a cache of gear that I cannot open until like level 80 or something. The developer said this is not intended. You're supposed to be able to open the cache of gear, although it might contain gear that you're not able to equip. So this is going to be something that they fixed in a planned patch, which will also be before Season 1. And then finally, and I believe that this is the last point, is there's currently like a problem with druids that they're getting barbarian uniques that they cannot use. This is also something that's going to be getting fixed before Season 1. This is just like an update of news that we got from the team. And I just wanted to update you guys on what's going on. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit up with a like. If you did not enjoy the video, hit up with a dislike, subscribe, bell notification icon, all that jazz. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.